Hey, hello everyone, and thank you so much for coming to learn more about branding beyond the logo, elevating your university's identity and the student experience. My name is Laura Galloway. I serve as the Senior Program Success Manager with the Global Match team. And so we've likely crossed paths. I hope we have. If not, let's remedy that. But thank you for joining today's session. Today, really, we have two components. One, to give you a behind the scenes look at the student experience. Your side of the platform, arguably, is not as flashy as the students, and I'm often asked by university partners, what does the student see? And so we'll kind of look a little bit into that. And then on the flip side, you have control over a lot of those components. And so the second piece of today's session is really to provide you with 7 high impact, low lift strategies to really increase your platform engagement. So you're going to walk away with 7 things that you can check off a to-do list. Um, Even as early as tomorrow if you'd like. So my goal with these student examples is to make the takeaways that we're asking you to do a little bit more real. And so to set the stage, these 7 takeaways are ordered in smallest lift to largest lift as far as work for your team. I've been in admissions, I understand it, and so I hope that kind of sets the stage a little bit for today. So we will jump into the first recommendation, which is offer card branding. And so this, what you're seeing on your screen, is an example of how an offer looks to a student when a university is using all of the kind of branding levers at their disposal. Now let's compare that to the version on the right, which is just kind of our base requirements that are included. That teal view offer details button that you're seeing, that is kind of the standard color for the button to appear. And so you are truly just seeing the stripped down version of a profile, which if you have been with us for a little bit and haven't been taking advantage of some of the pieces that we've been putting out, this is a really great time to do so because as you can imagine from a student's perspective, there's just a little bit of power behind the one that's on the left that just is a little bit more university specific branded. So let's talk through kind of what you're able to control and how that looks. And so you'll see here kind of all of the options that you have to put your specific institution's spin on it. So starting off with a hero image, if you are a marketing folk on the line, you'll know what this means. But essentially, if you're not, communicate with those people that you need a 7:2 aspect ratio horizontal oriented image for the top of the card. That is such a mouthful, but essentially it just needs to be kind of long and skinny so that it looks nice up there. And you really have full control as to what that image is, what it portrays. But just know the logo is going to be in the middle, so take that into consideration as you're choosing your image. Next up is a square logo. This is required as part of onboarding, so your institution likely has this in play already, which is fantastic. But university branding shifts, and so if you've had kind of a logo refresh, please submit a new one. We'll get that up on the platform so that students are able to see it. Kind of the next piece is the button branding. And so I mentioned that that teal color that you're seeing is specific to kind of the Match platform. That is the default color. But I know that your institution kind of has a really great kind of branding map that you can follow. And so just put in the hex code that you would like to see, and we'll update that button so that everything kind of flows nicely. Typically, those colors are similar to a logo, so it creates a really nice kind of visual for the student. Next up is you are able to link in your Appley page. And so when we do that, that's what the Compare Colleges on Appley button shows for a student. So if that is not something that you have or want to showcase, it is not an issue at all. We'll just leave that off. That button will not appear. But essentially, when a student clicks that, they are taken directly to your Appley page. So in this case, they would be going to Springfield University. So this is kind of a nice piece because teams are also putting an effort on that page. And so it's a nice way to kind of cross brand and provide students with a little bit more information should you choose to do so. And then last up is your U Visit tour. And so if you're an institution who has a U Visit tour, no action is needed. This is something that we are automatically embedding into offers so that students are able to just click on that. It pops open within the Match platform and students can engage with it. And there are great statistics about how Match students are spending more time with their virtual tours than kind of a typical virtual tour user, which makes sense because as you can see, you have just provided them with an offer. And so of course they want to explore a little bit more. But I flagged this for you all who, maybe are in the process of adding a UVisitor. Let me know that that's happening so that we're able to easily get that added in as soon as it's completed. If your institution does not have a UVisit tour, that doesn't mean that we don't want to include your tour. We'll just look for other ways to do that, and I'll kind of talk through those kind of throughout. And so that is item one checked off of our list of kind of just giving that offer card a little refresh and a little rebrand to put your institution spin on it. Next up, we have your offer language. And so first, though, I want to highlight just kind of how the offer looks to students now. So this is an example of a screenshot from the platform, so it does look better on the platform. But when a student pops open your offer, this is how they are seeing that. So of course, first up is your offer language, and that is at the top as always. Then you'll notice that the programs and scholarship section have been combined. That is directly a result from the new product feature that launched recently, about how you are able to assign specific scholarships to academic majors. So, for example, this student is offered business, finance, and accounting. If you happen to have an accounting specific scholarship, this is why they are now broken out, because then that would be listed only under the accounting feature. So it really shows students, depending on which major you are thinking about, here are the connected scholarships to that major, which is really exciting from a hyper-personalization point of view, which we know students want based on the student data that we've got. So I'll give you a moment just to kind of take that in. But the real reason that we're looking at the offer here is really to dive into the offer language more. And so what you're seeing here is our kind of base offer language of congratulations, you're admitted. We've reviewed your match profile. You've been approved for admission. Please note, you may need to provide additional documentation. It's just not that exciting from a student perspective, and they did not learn a thing about your institution, in this case, Pawnee University. And so I recommend spending a few minutes just making that a little bit stronger. This is kind of your first opportunity to brand yourself from a student perspective. And so this is a little bit of a different example to show you how to do that, again, with Pawnee University. So congrats, you've been admitted. Here are kind of some things that we value. And you'll notice that last piece is we've got a video link in. So depending on kind of your staff lift and what you'd like, you've got a couple of options here. Some staff members have inputted that one university hype video that you use in a lot of these cases, something that already exists that just kind of showcases campus and kind of builds a little bit of excitement. We can put that link in. We also have institutions who kind of go above and beyond in this. And so maybe they'll record kind of a 5 to 10 minute introduction specific to Match. Congratulations, you're admitted through Match. Here's why students love us. Here's a little bit about how to read your offer and your next steps. And so it kind of gives you the ability to get that information in front of students in an engaging way right through the offer. Because as you can imagine, the first thing that a student clicks when they see the offer is the view offer button. And so that's a little bit about some recommendations we have for offer language. Next up is your university profile. So I mentioned that the number one clicked piece of an offer is the view offer details button. That is of no surprise to any of you, but the second most clicked item is the learn more button. And this is where your university profile will pop out. And this has undergone some changes as well. But again, I've just screenshotted a piece of it so that you can see it. But essentially this is now kind of in one place. It looks a little bit different from a student perspective. You'll notice that the brochure, should you have one, or view book is now kind of at the top and something that they can easily click into. But from my perspective, as someone who works with institutions, universities are severely underutilizing their abilities in the university profile. So this is a great example or a great way to just tweak some words a little bit, pop something into ChatGPT and ask it to make it more exciting. But essentially, the only students and counselors who are going to see this are those that you've admitted. Students aren't able to just search the platform and find an institution. So you can really craft the narrative of you've been admitted, here's what life is like as a student. Please explore this link here about student life or about academics. A lot of institutions are just leaving their profiles as text. And we recommend adding 1 to 2 links so that students can then explore your website or where you're directing them, so that they can kind of continue researching before they're able or before they're interested in clicking interested. So definitely recommending that. Another underutilized feature that you're seeing is the view book. And so a lot of institutions are not using that, but it is front and center to the student. And that could be a nice way that you are, capturing those links for students as well. I know a lot of those are PDFs that have clickable links. And so if you'd prefer to go that route, again, not asking you to fully reinvent the wheel. If you've got a view book for admitted students, let's pop that in and make that applicable to students. Okay, moving right along. Item number 4 is adding in information about the cost of attendance. I know that this is a question that you all get from students and families and counselors over and over again. It's really kind of the top interest of students attending college, and I absolutely understand that. So we want to show you where you can put that information into the platform just to kind of ease concerns and get ahead of those conversations so that when you are asked about cost, the conversation is already further along than kind of at the beginning. So again, I've included the university profile because when a student clicks Learn More, the cost section for domestic students is now included at the bottom of that profile. So it is truly kind of in a one place ecosystem for the student, which is truly incredible. Uh, and this cost section is being severely underutilized by institutions. The match team has done a big piece of it. So as a domestic institution on the platform, your FAFSA code is already going to be listed. So this information that you're seeing about, the FAFSA is a form that you need to fill out, and your institution specific code, that is already in. Where you have the ability to make an impact is this piece right underneath, where you're able to put in anything that you would like a student to know from your perspective. So a lot of institutions will include their cost of attendance calculator. If you have financial aid staff who do kind of pre-appointments with students, you can include their booking link to set up a meeting. There are lots of different components that you can put in to kind of move the conversation along. And so you've got the ability to add in your specific cost information for your institution that will be included directly in the profile for both students and counselors to see. And so that is where we recommend putting the information for cost for the domestic side. Globally, the FAFSA is not something that all global students need to fill out, only those with US citizenship. So we know that that's already part of the communication that you've got with those students. But we still want to move along the conversation of cost. And so I've included here an example of an offer that a student will see. This is a basic one, so don't judge us for the lack of engaging offer language. We know now, as attending this session, that's something that will update. But you'll see that, again, the programs are listed along with their scholarships. We recommend putting in a condition that is specific to your cost of attendance. Because when a counselor and a student are looking at your offer and having that conversation, as we hear often happens at schools that we work with, the counselor is able to say, okay, you're getting a scholarship of $20,000 and your full cost of attendance is $40,000 for this institution or $50,000. And so they're really able to say, that means you are going to be responsible for paying X amount. And I like that this happens before a student even indicates interest, because you all know from setting up your candidate list criteria, we are already delivering students who are a good financial fit for your institution. But you also know that there are some students who don't necessarily know their budget. And even though they're attending kind of a private international school and they're paying tuition, you're sending them an offer, but including this in the conditions really just puts it out there what your condition or what your tuition is, so that if that is not in alignment with a student, they will not indicate interest in your offer. And we hear that time and time again from counselors that they love seeing that in the offer because it really just enriches the conversation that they're having with the student about fit. Okay. Item number 5 is to engage supporters. So if you came to yesterday's session, there's going to be a little bit of an overlap here. But it's really important and something that really can enhance the branding of your institution because through Match, you're talking to students through the offer, through the profile, potentially through the chat, depending on if that's how they're engaging with you. But once a student indicates interest in your offer, the counselor loses visibility. The parents and supporters may not even know of that offer. And so we bring this to you all as potential marketing team folks, and that we want you to use that data. And in a lot of conversations with institutions, they weren't aware that this data was coming into their CRM as part of the data transfer to even build it into some engagement strategies. So we first and foremost want to highlight the information that you have access to with each match. Of course, the student email, but you also have the counselor, first name, last name, school, and counselor email. And you've also got the parent email as well. And so we recommend adding those folks, to existing parent communication structures that you already have in place. Um, if you are reaffirming a student's admission, include those in kind of their first offer so that the whole team supporting the student can celebrate with the student. But really just want to highlight everything that's available to you in the data transfer. The other piece of engagement is you'll have a good idea of how many kind of counselors you have from each school with your matches. We can also pull a separate list for you because you get access to counselor contact information for all students that you've admitted, not just your matches. So if you're planning travel and you want to know kind of where you have admitted the most students, which high schools were most popular with match, as far as admits and students who matched with your institution from those high schools, we are happy to pull that to kind of help kind of expand your footprint in those organic applications through those types of opportunities. But I understand that everything that I've kind of talked about here may be a little bit of a larger lift. And so you may not have a parent-specific communication plan, or you may not be traveling as much this year due to budget restrictions. The match team still wants to help you engage those important groups because we know that counselors and parents are just key stakeholders in moving that student to and through college. And so starting in September, when a student receives their offers, we're also going to be notifying their key supporters, so the parents, family members, and counselors, with a personalized email celebrating the news. And so we know that not all institutions kind of have that infrastructure already. So this is really where we want to step in and support you all. So in those emails are going to be what we are calling on-demand information sessions. And so we're asking each institution to record a short, engaging, 5 to 10 minute video that introduces your school to these two important groups, counselors and parents and supporters. This video is going to work for both teams. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about the content. But really, this is a great opportunity to kind of showcase what makes your campus unique, talk about academic strengths, student support. Of course, cost and affordability cannot be forgotten. And then ultimately, some anecdotes about why students and their families chose you would be just wonderful to include in those videos. And so we'll follow up this session with a link to submit everything that you're seeing. But this is something that we are incredibly exciting about, kind of supporting you in kind of expanding your footprint with. And you likely already have a slide deck and this presentation that you have given to these groups. So hopefully this is a fairly low lift to ask you to just tweak that, record it, and send it in to us. If you know that that can't happen by the September date, don't worry, we're going to be able to add videos before each offer release. And so even if you're able to get that to me in October, we will make it happen and we will clearly communicate what those dates look like. We just want to help you get the word out about your institution as much as possible. Okay, moving on to item number 6. Again, this one you may have heard yesterday, but it is so critical and is um, often shared by students and counselors that this is one of the most important pieces that you can get right as an institution. And not only from kind of a branding perspective, but also just a feeling perspective. So this recommendation is really to reaffirm a student's admission through match. And so this is an example with a fake university. And again, I want you to see this from the student's point of view. And so the student has seen your beautifully branded offer, your profile, their parent has watched the video and they said, you really need to click interested on Woodley University. So they do. And then the first email that that student receives from your official kind of communication is CRM is a Thank you for your application. Track your status and kind of view your missing credentials, and it just kind of stops all that positive momentum that you have built with that student because they don't need to apply. There isn't anything to track in the sense of a traditional application. So they're just not sure what to do. And sometimes that shuts down engagement entirely. And a student will not, register their login and log in to your official account to see a little bit more. And so what we're recommending instead is really just reframe the message. For those first three communications, the best thing that you can do is reaffirm a student's admission through Match. And so one easy way to do that is to do a little bit of co-branding. And so we will be giving you access to kind of the Match logo so that if you'd like to put that in your email, again, just for those first three communications, really just reaffirming that they were truly admitted through Match. It is a true admissions offer. Um, that is the biggest piece that you can do for students and counselors as they are kind of working through this match process. And so you'll see kind of some examples here of the language that we recommend, but ultimately you are so able to make it your own, and we'll talk about some ways to do that next. But you can see that just changes the entire momentum game with that student. And that brings us to item number 7, which is to incorporate your highlight reel. So again, just to continue your university branding and to continue that momentum, after you've reaffirmed the admission with the student, incorporate your highlight reel. These students are net new students to you. They have not already applied, which means they have not been getting your lead gen or your inquiry emails. 80% of students learned about your institution through Match. And so they hadn't been getting all of those great warming campaigns that you have. But that doesn't mean that those can't be utilized. And so to, again, put this in the student perspective, you're seeing here something that is very transactional as a yield communication. So it's very step heavy and task heavy. Submit your deposit, log in, file your FAFSA. So what we're recommending instead is to take all of those great warming campaigns and just update the call to action. So some of those call to action in those campaigns are going to be apply. Just remove those, update it to something that an admitted student can do with your institution. So take a virtual tour, set up a meeting with a counselor, talk with a faculty member, whatever you have to highlight there, just repurpose those and kind of weave them into the Match student communication journey. It really makes a big difference, kind of as you can see through this example, that's a little bit more transformational in how it is yielding a student. But we don't want to just kind of leave you there with those pieces, especially for the reaffirming admissions piece. We are providing a match yield communication guide that's going to be linked in tomorrow's follow email for all of these sessions. And so this kind of gives you a little bit more of a formula to follow for those first three communications after the initial match, because we know that each institution is different and your offers are different and your conditions are different. You may or may not even have conditions. And so there are specific templates within this communication guide that will kind of give you a jumping off point to match whatever is currently being utilized by your institution in your admission process. Kind of another note that, again, we want to support you here is that your match package includes a complimentary yield communication audit tailored specifically to match students. And so this is going to be fantastic because a lot of institutions, will share with me, yep, I can confirm that this is what's going out to the student, but you're actually going to be able to see a match student specific journey in your communication. So we'll be able to flag anything that maybe should be turned off for match students, like that thank you for your application that you may have thought was off, but we'll find out and kind of work together to move forward in a way that really expedites your momentum for the entire year. And so I hope that these kind of perspectives highlight the importance to shift. Some are very small and just updating your color branding. Others are a little bit larger with how you're engaging with match students and supporters. But hopefully, all of this is designed to kind of help you move the conversation along, because participating in match automatically removes all of those components of what's the process, how am I admitted, how do I submit the application, to why should I choose you. And so everything that we've shared today kind of helps reinforce that branding of why a student should choose you.